Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime Symbol. And today I'm going to be giving you part 7 of What If Naruto Was a Ruthless Prodigy with Kurama. Remember to get this one too. 100 like as usual. Share this to all of your friends in your social media platform. And also guys, don't forget to go ahead and check out the other channels if you're new. Yes, that's correct. I indeed have 3 more channels, which I post what if on every single day for you guys to enjoy. All the links will be down in the description, so go ahead, check them out, and yeah guys, enjoy. And don't forget to turn on the bell notification to see exactly when I post, because I do post a hell of a lot. So without further ado or wasting any more time, how about we jump right into this brand new episode. Let us begin now guys. So, to do a bit of a recap of the last part that we left off, Sasuke had picked Sakura up and rushed her towards the infirmary because he saw her finger twitch. However, he saw the way the doctors were behaving and the way they were reacting, and he knew that it was bad, extremely bad, as everyone in the village could feel. The amount of power that Naruto was releasing at that moment, having lost himself, having lost complete control. His mind had shut down. His body was going on instinct. Kurama could not break through. The reason was because of the chains. As Naruto awakened the Uzumaki chains as they bind Kurama, restricting his chakra, Naruto entered a stage of evolution that no other Jinchuriki has ever reached before. The problem was, while it granted him great power, it was destroying him on the inside. As Naruto came in like a rocket, his speed and strength were on different levels, to the point that Shikaku stood no chance. Alone by himself, Naruto was carving and ripping Shikaku to pieces. The great beast did not stand a chance in hell. However, he was using a ghost step and his new technique that he was working on, his collaboration with wind and lightning technique, and it was ripping his body apart on the inside. Given the fact that he was constantly healing, it wasn't a good thing. Over and over, as he tore his muscles, he was bleeding, and yet he was not slowing down because, without his mind, there was no limitation on his body. As Naruto attacked Gaara once again, Gaara was absolutely terrified, as this was not something that he could defeat. For the first time in his life, he was terrified of Naruto coming towards him. Baki arrived on the scene though, trying to stop Naruto and to reason with him that the sand was tricked into it. However, Naruto sliced his arm completely off. He attacked Naruto, realizing that this wasn't your average child. In that moment, Naruto's body started to reach its limit. The pain was breaking his body down, causing Baki to shoot off a technique. With that, he fled, the siblings grabbing Gaara and running away as well. Naruto's instincts were on high alert. As Orochimaru was fleeing after killing the third, Naruto stopped them as he attacked them. The Sannin told the Sound 4 to kill him as he ran away. The members took Naruto on. However, by this point, Naruto's body was failing, as he was slowing down tremendously. He was bleeding from his eyes, his nose, and his mouth. He was rupturing his insides. But even then, Naruto took them on as they pushed themselves to their limits. They went straight to level 2 as Naruto gouged Drobo eyes out. He demolished Teiwaya and knocked down Seikon, but Naruto was hit with arrows by Kidomaru. The pain was starting to break him down as he was violently beaten by the Sound Four. They thought that he was dead as Teiwayadoki crushed him into the earth. Knowing that they could not stay behind any longer, they made their way off. However, Naruto got up, as it was only instincts and adrenaline. His body was a mess. As the remaining Sound Ninjas that were fleeing from Konoha came across him, he butchered every single one of them. His body had absolutely reached its limit, and he was dying. His organs were failing. His insides was a mess, as he was found by the Inoshikacho, the adults, Sasuke arriving on the scene. As they took him back to the village, the doctors believed that he wasn't going to make it as they tried their hardest, but his body was shutting down and it didn't matter what they did. Sakura was next to Naruto's room, as she was also shutting down as well. However, something abnormal happened. A Reaper, in charge of taking the soul, to be judged and sent off to either the underworld or the pure world, was interrupted. Sakura was so confused as she couldn't understand. As Naruto entered that domain, he grabbed her and told her to wake up. The Reaper was fascinated and shocked as he couldn't believe what he was seeing. This was an anomaly that he's never witnessed before. For one human being to have such a powerful will that he was able to enter someone else's domain. This place was a place between death and life that each member has when they die. And Naruto had broken through. Somehow, it shouldn't be possible. It was a strange phenomenon that just did not make sense. The Reaper was just fascinated. After all, he was not going to stop it or anything. But by sheer will, Sakura was able to hang on. As Naruto words, Naruto encouragements pushed her to hang on. The doctors were shocked as her heart started to beat once again. She was alive. They quickly got to work on making sure that it stayed that way. As for Naruto, he was done. His body had reached critical levels and there was no saving him. Well, unless Kurama took control of Naruto's body, which was basically no longer accessible to him at the moment. He spoke to Jiraiya and told him to release the seal, telling him that he was the one that he's been working with all this time. Sasuke shouted at the man to release the goddamn seal so Naruto could live, as Jiraiya had no choice, as he weighed his options, but in the end he decided to do it. Minato and Kushina had woken, their chakra coming into play. They've seen all the Fox had done, and they wanted to help as they used the residue of their chakra to make the chances of Naruto surviving a lot greater. As Naruto's body was infused with so much power, all of that rushing towards his failing organs, rushing towards his brain, supercharging him. In the end, Kurama passed out, using almost all of his chakra. He would be quiet for a very long while, as Naruto was reached by his parents and Kurama within limbo. With sheer will and focus, Naruto rise and walk. Despite it feeling like he was buried, he walked, as he was able to reach and break through. The Reaper was beyond shock as he stood there. He was grateful to witness such a phenomenon that he doubted would ever happen again in the entire universe. It took some time, but Naruto finally woke up. However, Sakura was still not out of the blue just as yet. Naruto had the Fox and his parents' chakra to help him, but Sakura did not have any of that, so they had to find Tsunade as they left. However, upon their trip, they came across none other than Itachi Uchiha and Kisame. So yeah guys, basically as we left off, so let's jump right into this. Let's begin now guys. The whole town felt it, even those that were not ninjas. And given the quality of said town, more non-ninjas were here than ninjas. Jiraiya of the Sannin had realized that the girl that was flirting with him was under an illusion. As he was heading back, he felt it, the enormous amount of power exploding off in the distance. However, closer to the location was Sasuke Uchiha as he finally arrived. Sasuke arrived towards a scene to see his brother, along with a blue fish man. And Naruto was also standing there as well. However, Naruto's body was cloaked in a golden energy. It flickered across him like flames and danced around him. Strange black markings circulating out from his stomach, spiraling downwards. There was also Megatama markings around his neck area. As Naruto was looking down towards his hands, looking as surprised as everyone standing there. However, Sasuke saw the vengeance of all of his hate for the past couple of years. Itachi, he shouted. Itachi turned, shocked by the amount of power coming from the young Jinchuriki, but as he turned to face his brother, Kisame's eyes never left Naruto. Samehata started to behave strange. Samehata exploded out of the bandages, its tongue even dripping with saliva, as it seemed to be loving the power that was radiating from Naruto. It seems you've made Samehata really happy. She's gonna enjoy feasting on your chakra, Kisame said with a smirk. Naruto, on the other hand, was not really paying attention. Having just gained access of this new form, he felt the power. Despite unable to contact Kurama, he could feel the power circulating through him. All he did was tap into it, but he never expected this drastic boost in his strength. Kisame's blade came swinging down as Naruto snapped his gaze up and moved. It seems like teleportation. It even caught Kisame off guard. He never expected it. When Naruto's fist crashed into his chin, his body burst through the ceiling. It wasn't just his speed, but his strength was augmented to unbelievable levels from this new form overtaking him. Even Naruto was surprised at his new level of strength as he turned his gaze towards the other member. However, he was currently engaged with Sasuke, leaving himself wide open from what Naruto could see. His gaze focused on his younger brother. Naruto made a move, but the ceiling ripped open as Kisame came back down. Naruto flipped away and landed. The ground was destroyed. Over to the other side, Sasuke, filled with so much rage, did not hesitate, rushing towards Itachi with his Chidori. However, in that moment as Itachi was about to grab his hand, Sasuke weaved his hand away and spun, almost like a gig in mid-air, causing the lightning to spin with him as well. Itachi had to move back as the area was gouged out right at the side of his head. Sasuke landed on the wall as he pushed off and swung a brutal kick. Itachi blocked it, but Sasuke dropped low and aimed for his legs. Itachi jumped and kicked him, but Sasuke crossed his arms. Staggering back, he did not stop. He ran straight forward. Despite the nonchalant look on Itachi's face, on the inside, he was feeling something completely different. I have festered in my hatred all this time, and now I'm here to kill you! Sasuke roared out, attacking Itachi as he was moving as fast as his body could possibly go. Itachi was proud on the inside though, because there were things that Sasuke did not know. So much things. However, Itachi realized that he needed to make things worse, because that was the only way he saw to empower Sasuke with enough vengeance and hate to truly claim his destruction. His logic was not sound. His logic was not good at all, but given the things that he's done, the people that he's killed, he did this all for the betterment of the village. And he's on this path right now to protect his younger brother, to make everyone see him as a hero that he was, and he would take all that pain. Itachi extended his skills as he realized that Sasuke had grown to much higher levels, and he wanted for him to believe that he stood no chance, and that is exactly what he did. Sasuke was giving it his all, trying to take his brother down, but he was being outplayed. Itachi was faster, stronger. He was cancelling out all of his techniques. He received a brutal kick in the stomach before. He was grabbed by the hair and knee right in the face. He was then slammed viciously into the wall. Itachi held him there by his neck. "You are still not strong enough," he whispered to him. Looking into his eyes, they changed into the Mangekyou. Tsukiyomi. Sasuke was brought to his world. Itachi started to plague his mind with countless memories. The pain, the mental strain was unbearable for the young Uchiha. Itachi had to watch, keeping his emotions in check. However, something phenomenal happened. Sasuke screamed in rage, and his eyes changed. Itachi was shocked, the look written all over his face. As Sasuke released his power, and the world started to break, Itachi watches his world crumble around him. However, in the outside world, Sasuke had passed out from the mental strain. Itachi dropped him to the ground, a shocked look on his face. This was not something that he was expecting, for him to already reach to this level. But how? What could have caused this, he thought to himself. However, the mental fortitude that was needed to shatter Itachi's world was just too much for him. It took him out cold and placing him in a coma. Itachi had to move away though, as he was almost grabbed by another. Turning, it was none other than Jiraiya of the Sannin. As Jiraiya looked Itachi dead in the eyes, he looked behind the man as he saw the gaping hole in the wall. He could feel Naruto's chakra outside, growing and growing as the time passed. Jiraiya wasn't about to let Itachi leave. Flashing through hand sign, he summoned the Toad's stomach. However, Itachi burned through the wall with his Amaterasu as he jumped through. Upon jumping through, he saw Kisame and Naruto. As Kisame finished his hand sign and release a thunderous amount of water. The pressure was deadly as it shot towards Naruto. But Naruto was already finished with his hand sign. Naruto summoned his field of wind. It expanded out. It completely tore through the water like it was nothing. But it kept on going and going and going. Naruto pushed the technique out as Kisame was hit. The thing was grinding and tearing away at him as he used Hamehata to absorb the technique. Kisame actually faltered slightly, but he stood himself right back up. His Akatsuki clothing was torn and ripped. He was bleeding pretty heavily. However, he had a big smile on his face as Hamehata started to heal his wounds. Kisame seemed beyond delighted. This was not what he was expecting. He thought he was up against a simple brat, but he was wrong. He was up against a trained killer who had the power to back up his motives, because the only thing that Naruto had said to him throughout this entire battle was that he was going to kill him, and Kisame believed him 100%. Realizing if he didn't use or put more effort into this battle, he would die as he started to release his chakra. Samehata flushing through his system as well. Kisame. He looked around as he saw Itachi. Immediately his mood dropped. "Don't tell me. We have to go." Itachi suddenly pulled a kunai out as he placed it forward, blocking the swipe. Kisame was shocked as he thought his partner was going to attack him, but what he did was save Kisame's life. He took his eyes off Naruto for a brief second. With the ghost step, Naruto had cleared the distance like that. This new power-up, it enhances ghost step to unbelievable levels. Like he simply teleported instead of using raw speed to move through the area. Kisame was shocked as he could feel the sharpness of the blade despite the fact that it didn't take his head off. but it did split the kunai. However, Kisame showed why he was a S-rank ninja. The brief second that Itachi used to save his life was all he needed, as he weaved under Naruta's blow. Samehata came rushing towards Naruto as he flipped away and landed, the beast, feasting on some of Naruta's chakra, causing it to squeal in delight. However, when Jiraiya landed, they decided to run his Kisame through his water up as distraction as they fled the area immensely fast. Naruto powered down instantly as he turned towards Jiraiya. "Where's Sasuke?" he said. Naruto wanted to help, however. Throughout the battle, this shark man was really getting on his case. So he had to kill him, but the man was a S-rank ninja, and a powerful one at that. His new boost in speed and strength gave him the capability to actually clash with him, and even almost killed him, but this power that he was now wielding was still something that he couldn't fully control just as yet. He almost sped off in the wrong direction when he used his ghost step, and his techniques were either overwhelming or underwhelming. He needed to get a better grasp of it. However, given how it perfectly circulates through him, he doubt that will take long. Naruto was brought to Sasuke. He was physically fine, but not mentally. Naruto felt the next person that came in as his blade was already out. However, he recognized who it was. Guy kicked Jiraiya away by accident, believing that he was one of the foes. Guy took Sasuke back to the village, after which he was happy to hear about Tsunade and her retrieval after all. It was needed for one of his students as well. Now more than ever, Naruto was determined to bring her back so she could help his comrades. Time skip. He was still unable to speak to Kurama. He could still feel his chakra inside of him, so that meant he was alright. But still he could not speak to him, and he did not like that. Jiraiya had questioned his motives on talking to the fox, as it was something that he was never expecting to hear at all. However, there was no doubt in Naruto's mind that Kurama wanted anything but to help him, as Naruto was firm on that. However, Jiraiya was insistent, as he wanted answers. Why did the Nine-Tail attack the village then? "There are things that you don't know," said Naruto. "Like?" Jiraiya asked. Naruto looked towards him, as he did not say anything. He was just looking at the man. However, Jiraiya was waiting for an answer, as Naruto was just staring at him before he spoke. "He told me what happened on that night. Someone was controlling him." Jiraiya narrowed his gaze, as his look told Naruto that he knew something more. "What do you know?" said Naruto. "I heard some rumors," Jiraiya said, "that the fox eyes was showing the Sharingan. Countless people saw this. There was a stigma on the Uchiha clan, if you did not know, that they were the ones that used the fox." "Did it tell you who it was?" Jiraiya asked. No, Naruto lied, because Kurama did tell him something that sounded impossible. However, that was not what Naruto was thinking about right now. After what Jiraiya just said to him, it made him think about something that he saw. It was Itachi Uchiha. As Naruto was trying to get past Kisame, he saw the way Itachi was fighting. Naruto was a person that did not expose or express himself in many ways, emotional wise, and he could tell that something was off. And after what Jiraiya just said to him, there were certain things that were coming to Naruto's mind, things that made him wonder if he was crazy of even thinking about that. However, it was all logical if you think about it, if you know this information. As he kept it to himself for now, not wanting to stir something up that possibly might not even be real. Time skip. "What did you just say?" said Jiraiya. "I said, I'm starting to question your abilities. Revolving your spine, it works," said Naruto. "And what the hell is that supposed to mean?" the Sannin said. "We've been searching for 2 days now, and it's now nighttime. And when this day is over, it will be 3. And we're still nowhere close to finding this goddamn woman. If you do have a spy network that is as vast as you say it is, how can you not possibly be able to find one person, said Naruto. His gaze fixated on the man. It's not as easy as you think it is, brat, said Jiraiya. She moves around a lot. Keep it in mind that she enjoys to gamble, and she sucks at it. That means she borrows a lot as well. And she doesn't really like to pay people back that much. So she doesn't want to be found. Do you think it's easy to find someone that doesn't want to be found and know that they're actively being hunted down? Well, that should not matter to you. Because as you said when we first met, you are the world's greatest spy master. Wasn't that in your intro, said Naruto. It was, and I am, said Jiraiya, as he muttered under his breath. Next time I won't tell you things, if you're just gonna throw it back in my face. As he started to head towards a bar. Where are you going, said Naruto. Have you forgotten what I told you about her? Naruto gave him a look. What's with that look, said Jiraiya. My expression has not changed one bit, so I'm not sure what you're talking about, said Naruto. The more time I spend with you, the more I get to understand those looks on your face. And this is one of them, that you're pissed off about something, isn't it? Naruto simply walked by the man, as he did not give him a response. The Sannin followed behind him, questioning Naruto once again. However, when they entered the bar, the Sannin started to chuckle, causing Naruto to look towards him. Well, I guess our luck is finally paying off, isn't it? Because there she is. Naruto turned his gaze as he saw a beautiful blonde, a very regal and focused look in her eyes, as she was talking to a young man. As he started to move towards her, hey kid, that's not her, that's her. Naruto blinked as he turned towards the drunken slob with 3 bottles on the table, talking to herself. He was told about her ability to augment her features. So he thought. As Naruto looked towards Jiraiya, who simply grabbed onto the kid and pulled him along, allowing Naruto to enter the booth first, as he sat down last. Jiraiya-san, Shizune said. Ah, Shizune, lovely to see you again. My, have you grown into a fine young woman, he said with a cheeky smile on his face, causing Tsunade to sigh. Why are you here, she said. First of all, he said, let me introduce you all to my little prodigy, a student of mine that craved my affections and craved my teachings. As they turned their gaze towards him, his name is Naruto Uzumaki. Another one, Tsunade said, as she looked at Naruto's features, but she said nothing about them. Now answer my question. Why are you here? It's nice to meet you, Shizune said, greeting Naruto. A pleasure, Naruto said. Come on now, Tsunade. Can't the old friend catch up with another, he said, pulling out a deck of cards. It was some time ago when they had a conversation. Look kid, Jiraiya had told him, when we meet her, let me talk first. Tsunade is a really emotional person, and she gets ticks off much faster than your ordinary person. And her not knowing you might prove to be not beneficial for anything or anyone, because your attitude is not stable. What do you mean by that, said Naruto. Well, you tend to say what is on your mind without considering people's feelings most times. So just let me talk, okay? I know how to handle her. Fine, said Naruto. So now they were here, as Jiraiya was playing cards with her, causing her to talk to him and relax herself and not be agitated, so when he do ask her, she would not take it offensively. Sensei is dead, Jiraiya said to her. I heard, she said, as she was still playing cards. The council and I had a meeting and they're looking for a replacement Hokage. Someone to rise up to the position and take it. Konoha desperately needs it right now. And we think that you're the perfect match. Tsunade paused as she started to chuckle slightly. Shizune being surprised by that news. However, Shizune was looking at Naruto. It was his expression. It was starting to freak her out. The more Jiraiya spoke to Tsunade, the more his eyes seemed to become lifeless, which was really concerning, like something was terribly wrong, as she could not explain it. And when Tsunade laughed, all trail of life seemed to leave his eyes. She's seen many killers during her time with her master, and this boy, despite his young age, looked like an expert killer. Tsunade started to make a mockery of the position. Do you really expect me to return there and be the Hokage? You yourself know what that village has taken away from me, and yet you sit here with a straight face and ask me that. I told Sensei that that title is cursed, and now look what it has gotten him. He's now gone because he did not listen. Only a fool would take the position of Hokage. And I'm not a fool, she said. Jiraiya opened his mouth to say something, but Naruto beat him to the punch. Konoha was recently attacked. Several people were injured to extreme levels that the doctors there do not possess the mental capability on how to fully heal them. So you're required to return back to the village to do your service as a Konoha ninja and help the injured, he said. Tsunade turned towards him. The kid had been quiet since, and now he finally speak. His tone was extremely flat. There was no emotion in his words. They're going to have to find a way, she said, because I am not returning back to the Hidden Leaf. As she did not look away from Naruto because when he looked at someone, he looked directly in your eyes. He did not blink. He did not turn away. His gaze was directly focused on her. Tsunade was coming off of the alcohol that she was using her chakra to burn it out of her system. The moment she saw Jiraiya, that is what she's been doing, knowing that there was something that he wanted, and she had to have a clear mind. However, there was something about this kid's eyes, something that seemed so familiar. Why? It clicked to her. Whose eyes his eyes resemble? It was her grand uncle, Tobirama Senju. Their facial features and their eyes seemed so identical, not by color of course, but by the feeling that they give off. The way he stared into someone's eyes when he spoke to them. It seems you're not understanding what I'm saying to you, said Naruto. People are injured at the village, and it is your duty as a Konoha ninja, feelings are not, to return and do your job. And it seems you're not hearing what I'm saying to you. I am not returning back to that village. End of discussion. You two can leave now, said Tsunade. Naruto reached as he unsheathed his blade. Jiraiya tensed, expecting the worst as he turned towards him. What the hell are you doing, he said. Naruto rested the blade on the table. Tsunade narrowed her gaze towards him. Shizune and Tonton freaking out as the entire atmosphere had changed. Everyone in the bar started to feel strange, as all of them were nothing but civilians, and the sensation that was coming from Naruto was affecting them. When I was younger, I chose to close myself off to people around me. I thought that I never needed people. I never needed friends. I never needed anyone. So I chose to close myself off. Emotional wise, I thought having friends and family, it would be a weakness. I truly believe that, to the point that I questioned Hyuga on how he was able to do certain things to his family, and how he put his emotion outside when doing those certain things. However, I was told by my sensei that things like this doesn't make you weak. It is what makes you a better shinobi. So I opened myself up, not to many but to a couple. And I gained friends. Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno. They became my friends. However, I realized just how dangerous the world is. And everyone is not like me. Because I possess certain special qualities that is helping me grow stronger. Hard work is there as well, but I had help. But they are doing the same, trying to become as strong as they possibly can. However, it will be time before we're all powerful enough to protect ourselves against any threat. During the attack on Konoha, I blame myself for not being fast enough to save one of my close friends as she was skewered by sand stakes. I thought she was dead and I lost my mind. However, upon waking up, I found that she was alive, but the doctors have done their best. She's now in a coma and she needs surgery. They don't have the expertise that is needed to help her because they say the surgery is a very difficult one. And over the years, Konoha had lacks in their medical ninjutsu knowledge and the growth of their medics. So I came all this way to find you. He told me about his goal of bringing you back to be the Hokage. But you're not fit for that title. And I truly don't care one bit about that. There are many others that can take the position. Much others that are more worthy than you. However, what I do need is for you to come back and help my friends. So, said Naruto, let us go, he said to her. As compelling as you thought your story was, it hasn't worked because I'm still not going back to the village. You misunderstood, said Naruto. My story wasn't there to be compelling. It is simply for you to know how much I care about the people that I've come to associate myself with. And for you to know that I blame myself for not being fast enough to get her out of that sand cocoon, to save her life. Because if she dies, I'm going to blame myself. And I've realized something about myself. As hard as I try, I'm not good with handling emotions and having that grief stricken on myself. I'm not sure how I will be able to handle it. So if she dies, I will want everyone that is responsible to die as well. It didn't matter if they were tricked into it or not. The one that caused her suffering, I will hunt him down and kill him. And I'm sure that the San has told Konoha about their accident. And I'm sure there will be forgiveness on Konoha part. But when I do kill the Sanjinjuliki, there will be others that try to stop me. And I'll kill them as well. And then I'll leave the village after starting a whole lot of problems. And I'll seek out Orochimaru. And I'll make sure that his last remaining moments on this world is filled with agony and pain. And then I'll come after you, said Naruto. Given the fact that you had the possibility to help her and save her life, that you had the power to do so, I'll want to hurt you in ways that is beyond dark. So I'll go after her, said Naruto, as he pointed his finger towards Shizune. And I'll kill her in front of you. And my actions will no doubt lead to Konoha hunting me. And the same man that is now claiming to be my sensei will perhaps have to hunt me down himself. And I'm not sure what I will become by then. But I do know that it's bad. So me telling you about my life is not for you to believe that my story still attract you to come back with me. It's simply what I believe will happen. Because I've learned what is my biggest problem with being a ninja. It's my emotional state that is tied to my anger that I can't control. Perhaps I'll be able to fix this in the coming future, but right now, it's still unstable because of the guilt I feel of not being able to save her. The doctors told me that her condition is stable right now and it will stay so for some time. They told me I had time when I told them that it will take some time to find you. They give me 5 months tops. So I'll give you a week because I don't want her condition to worsen as she lie in that hospital bed. Get over your trauma get over your problems, and come back and do your service, and then you can screw off and do anything with your life for all I care, because I'll make sure that a medical problem is never a problem in the future again for anyone within Konoha. As Naruto got up, he picked his blade up and tilted to the side. "This is what I'll use to kill her," said Naruto. Through the whole conversation, his eyes had never left Tsunade's, not even once. However, Tsunade did not react that much. However, she seemed rather focused on what he had to say, carefully looking at him. But the most concerned was Jiraiya. After hearing what Naruto had to say, "You have 1 week. We will meet up at the east exit, leading towards the hidden leaf," said Naruto. With that, he walked away, going to find a nearby hotel. Shizune was stunned. Through the whole conversation, everyone was quiet, except for him that was talking. Now, ordinary. Thinking about most people going up against a Sannin would be ridiculous, right? However, Shizune couldn't help but feel this terrifying feeling like that kid would make good on his promise. It didn't matter what came in his way. It seems like Tsunade saw something during their little spat a moment ago. As she looked towards Jiraiya, seeing the concerned look on his face. "Just who is that kid?" she said. Jiraiya looked towards her. His gaze was serious and focused. Time skip. Later that night. "Is there something you want to talk about?" Naruto asked. The clearly upset, angered Jiraiya. "What the hell was that?" the Sannin said. "About you in the village earlier. About going down that path that you were talking about." As Naruto just looked at the man. "You didn't know how I ended up in the hospital," said Naruto. "You knew of the situation that I fought the Jinchuriki of the One Tails, but that was not all. I learned something about myself, and it's one of my biggest flaws. I've pushed away emotions for so long that I can't control myself when it comes to expressing that. However, just like everything else, I will find a way to control it. I've always had, and I will," said Naruto. "And I was not making some fantasy or telling something that is untrue. It is a clear path, a reality that might happen. However, it is not the only one. You stand here saying these things. You do know that I'm a loyal ninja of the Hidden Leaf. Even then, when the fox told me to release the seal, I questioned on releasing it to save your life or not, because there was a chance that it might be tricking you, or it might be tricking me as well, just to get its freedom. However, because of the emotional state that I was in after losing my sensei, I put emotion first instead of duty, and that is something I just can't do. And with what you're saying," said Jiraiya, as he narrowed his gaze towards Naruto. Naruto looked at the man. "Well, if the worst does come to worst, I guess you will just have to kill me," he said. "Now, if you don't mind, I've exhausted myself enough. I'll have to go to sleep now," Naruto said, making his way to the bed. The Sannin just stood there and watched him. The kid said all of that with a straight face. He's been focusing on Naruto's strength, focusing on how good he was as a ninja, but he hasn't been focusing on the mental aspect of Naruto. As he realized that they were gonna have to get him some help regarding those emotions and his mental state. Time skip. "That's enough," Tsunade said, as she was talking to Shizune, who was trying to convince her to tell them about Orochimaru, but Tsunade was having none of it. The Sannin had made her a promise. However, she couldn't take her mind off what the kid had said to her. It made her thought back to her younger self, how she was, and the losses that she suffered. And now that same boy, he was emotionally tied to these people. He wasn't one to express himself, but when he does, his emotions become so strong. Not only did they drive him to become stronger, but They were also his great weakness. She's seen this in the past before, and it never ended well. But this boy, he was different. As she couldn't get her mind off the conversation, his words and how calm he was, and with what Jiraiya told her, just who he was related to. Tsunade had no idea what to do. The days flew by after that, as Jiraiya had went out with her to talk to her, trying more and more to convince her, but she was not taking it. As the days went by, the week was slowly coming to an end. However, 2 days before the end of the week, it was time. Tsunade was adamant on meeting with the man. Shizune, though, she did not trust Orochimaru and feared that Tsunade was doing something wrong. She was going to try and tell Jiraiya. However, she was knocked out by Tsunade, who left her on the bed. Luckily though, Naruto woke up extremely early, as he usually did. It was something common for him as he woke up early and trained. However, immediately he felt something off. Making his way towards the window, Naruto crawled out. As he walked until he arrived to the side of the building to see Jiraiya, out cold. At first he thought the man just drank a lot. However, he saw signs. His breathing was labored. Naruto shook him awake when there was some frantic banging on the door. As Jiraiya got up, looking rather unstable. She drugged me, he said, causing Naruto to narrow his eyes. Meanwhile, Tsunade was face to face with her longtime teammate and his student. The meeting didn't go as planned because Tsunade wasn't here to take his offer, but she was here to kill him. As much as she hasn't made up her mind just yet, he killed Sensei. It was his fault that their Sensei was dead. The least she could do was repay that favor by killing him. Things were going well until they used her greatest weakness against her hemophobia, splashing blood across her face. She immediately crumbled under the pressure and the weight. As it was a tragic, horrible memory that came back to her. Something that she couldn't just easily overcome. It held her back severely. Take her, we're leaving, Orochimaru said, intending on forcing Tsunade to do what he desired. However, snapping their gaze to the right, as two people were heading their way. Shizune launching senmons towards Kabuto. Jiraiya rushing towards Orochimaru. Kabuto dodged away as Shizune rushed towards her master. Kabuto landed as he was about to say something until instincts kicked in as he tilted slightly. And that was the only single thing that saved his life. However, just because his life was saved doesn't mean that he wasn't in agony right now as Naruto blade carved into his chest instead of splitting his head open. Kabuto movement caused the blade to not go through his temple. He immediately jumped away, gripping onto the gaping wound that was gushing blood. Immediately he reached for a pill and plucked it into his mouth. However, Naruto was upon him so fast. He raised his arm, surrounding it with chakra. As Naruto blade slammed against it, Naruto pulled back and slashed and twirled, causing Kabuto to try and defend himself with his one hand until the effects of the pill started to kick in. Excessive healing. His other hand was then surrounded with the chakra scalpel as he caught Naruto's blade, using the chakra to fortify his skin so it would not pierce. However, when Naruto twisted his blade and pulled down, Kabuto was shocked when it sliced into his palm, as Naruto's blade was now circulating with his own chakra, the metal, highly conductive to wind chakra, which sliced through Kabuto's like it was nothing. Using that opportunity, Kabuto leaped away. as Naruto made his way towards Tsunade to make sure that she was still amongst them. After all, he needed her help. However, he noticed that she was unresponsive. "What's wrong with her?" said Naruto. "She has hemophobia," Shizune said, wary of talking to Naruto after he threatened to end her life, but the situation was different right now. "Hemophobia," Naruto said, not knowing what is that. "Fear of blood," Shizune told him. Naruto was confused. "Isn't she a medic?" he said. "She is." As the recollection of what Jiraiya told him started to kick in, it seems, despite her profession, the loss of the ones that she loved, it truly shattered her to that point, causing Naruto to see similarities in himself with this woman, as he realized that she was him, who lost the people that she cared about, and this was a path that she took. It made him realize that perhaps he needed some help, because unlike Tsunade or other people that choose to wallow in pity, when he loses control, he kills ruthlessly and violently. Naruto looked directly at Tsunade, who was shaking, her eyes looking towards him. "When he told me about what happened to you and what it did to you, I saw similarities between us, but I never wanted to accept them until now," said Naruto. "Now that I find out about this weakness that you have because of the ones that you love, you were unable to save them, and given the profession that you're in, I'm sure that it was traumatic on you," Naruto said, seemingly thinking about his own life as he talked to the woman that was unresponsive. "I see now that fighting you is not the option, because it's not a fight that will convince you to return back to the village." As he was talking to her, because of his eyes, Tsunade's mind was showing her grand uncle standing there. Their eyes were just so similar, their words, the way his tone did not elevate, not anger, not sadness, just so calm. It reminded her so much of Tobirama Senju. It was a shocking realization. Perhaps this is something that we cannot or we will not overcome. However, we're alive, he said. We lost people, and they're gone now. And none of us know what will happen after we are struck down. But we're alive, and I'm sure the people that you lost would be disappointed to see what you're doing with your life. Because you and I both know, if they care for you as much as you care for them, they would want you to be happy. And you wasting your life by drinking it away is not the way to be happy. Because fooling yourself in thinking that gambling and drinking is making you happy when you know it's wrong. Naruto said, turning away from her. But it's alright. You can do as you please right now, because I won't allow you to die here. As Naruto faced Kabuto, who was fully recovered and upset, stepping forward, Naruto looked at him. You were within the Chunin exams. Ah, you remember me, said Kabuto. Yes, I do. Quite clearly, said Naruto. So you were a spy all along. The best, Kabuto said. But my cover is now blown, so I suppose there is no point. But you should know, I'm as strong as Kakashi, so your chance of defeating me has gone down to 0. You should have used that chance that you got when you catch me off guard more properly, because you won't have it ever again. Tell me something. Does Orochimaru care for you, said Naruto. Does he care for me? Now why would you ask me that, Kabuto said. It's my goal to make him suffer, said Naruto. And I figure by killing you, that will be one step closer. Kabuto chuckled. Killing me? Haven't you heard what I just said? Immediately, Naruto's body erupted, golden flames overtaking him, the pattern spreading. Tsunade's mind seemed to snap into focus as the power awoke her. However, Naruto's words were deep within her mind and subconscious. The power though jolted her and stopped the fight between Orochimaru and Jiraiya. What is this? Orochimaru said with confusion. How could one boy handle this amount of chakra? It was a frightening realization. Jiraiya simply attacked him, wasting no time trying to take him down for what he did to their sensei. Kabuto stepped back slightly, surprised by the power that Naruto was outputting. What is this? He said with confusion and worry. Naruto did not answer him though, as he felt it. Naruto leaned over slightly. Suddenly, chains. The chakra started to form into golden chains as they solidified, becoming solid. There were 9 of them. They spread like the 9 tails of the fox as they slammed into the ground, tearing it apart. Naruto held his blade up and squeezed it in his hand. The golden flames ran down the blade as well, overcoming it, fusing into the goddamn steel. Kabuto backed away once again. The enormous power from Naruto started to affect the surrounding area because Naruto was pushing majority of it towards his feet. When Naruto took off, the ground exploded, causing Tsunade to get to her feet. Tsunade-sama, Shizune said in surprise. It wasn't often that her master recovered this easily from blood. Something about her seemed different. Tsunade was seeing Tobirama in the way Naruto moved off with his speed. After all, Tobirama was the one that created the flying Raijin Jutsu. While she was seeing him, the power that she was feeling could only be comparable to one person, and that was her grandfather, the myth, the legend, Hoshirama Senju. How could this boy possibly wield a power like that? It made no sense. Kabuto pumped chakra into his eyes, trying to make them fast enough to react. However, he had to use pure instinct to move. But even after moving, Kabuto felt agony course through him as Naruto took his right arm clean off. One of his chains tear into it and slammed it into Kabuto's face. His own arm, as 2 chains lashed out, one wrapping around the arm, wrapping around Kabuto's head. The man tried to use a scalpel on his other arm to cut it, but a chain bore right through his wrist. Whipping around it, Kabuto tried to move, but another chain ripped into his legs, holding them together as they lifted him in the air. Kabuto was strong, yes he was. However, he wasn't as strong as Kakashi, especially with the Sharingan. And the amount of power that Naruto had under his control right now was nothing normal. The past few days Naruto had been learning how to control his power little by little, and he's got mostly the swing of it. Naruto thrust his blade out as it hit Kabuto's chest. However, the blade did not pierce through him, it hit his chest like 2 solids hitting against each other. It was because of the energy that was released upon contact. It was something new that Naruto was working on. A special technique with his blade work. Kabuto died instantaneously as his back exploded outwards. The energy that was built up in the tip of the blade released. Upon making contact, it did not pierce. It destroyed, blowing through his back, leaving a gaping hole as Naruto threw him right towards the 2 Sanins battling. The disengage as Orochimaru saw Kabuto, lifeless corpse crashed on the ground. As Naruto came marching over towards him, each of his chains, the tip of them started to change, becoming pointed and sharp. as the cloak around him started to generate more and more power. The blade in his hand started to tremble. Despite not touching the ground was being destroyed as Naruto walked with it at his side. Seeing the man responsible for causing all of this, Naruto dashed forward and shouted, "Move!" Jiraiya leaped away as Naruto brought his blade down. With a single tap, he released every single amount of energy that he placed in the blade. The explosion was cataclysmic. Kabuto's body was ripped to shreds as a violent blast tore through the earth. It was problematic, shaking everything around them. Shizune's eyes widened in shock to think that he had all of this power at his disposal. At the moment, she was fearful for her life. This boy, she was right, he was no ordinary boy. Tsunade herself was shocked, speechless to what she was looking at. Jiraiya's eyes went wide as the smoke cleared away, to show a gaping trench in the ground. A massive gaping trench, around the size of the stadium, just a bit smaller but still. It was truly shocking. However, there was no sign of Orochimaru or his corpse. Naruto spread his chakra before he jumped down. Rushing downwards, Naruto saw a pattern on the ground. A pattern that would be made by a snake as it dug straight down, and it was gone. Naruto cursed at him getting away. However, the body of his subordinates was in pieces all over. As Kabuto Yakuji, his number 2, his spy was no longer amongst the living, courtesy of Naruto. And the next time they meet face to face once again, Naruto would ensure that he dies. Naruto jumped out of the trench. "What is it?" he said, seeing the look on Jiraiya's face. "I'm just surprised. You told me what happened, and you gaining access to this power, but still, I never knew that this was a capability of what you could do. I spent the past few days learning on how to control it." "What? You did? When? What did you think all that meditation was for?" "This power, while it seemed physical, it's mostly mental. To control all of this chakra with your mind, it isn't an easy thing to do," said Naruto. "Not to mention these chains, something that I've recently awakened. But I've yet to get the answers because my friend is not responding as I told you." As the two ladies came walking over, Tsunade looking down the trench. As Jiraiya looked towards her, he had seen the state that she was in. "How are you feeling, Haim?" she said. "I'm fine," she said to him. "You are?" he asked once again. "Yes, I'm fine." She jumped down to the level that Naruto was at. "So if I don't come back to help you, I'm guessing that this is a force that I will have to fight to protect Shizune. Because if you come after her, I will fight you with everything I have," she said to him. Naruto jumped up, ignoring her, as he stepped to Shizune. Tsunade jumping up as well, as Naruto bowed his head. "I apologize," he said, "for what I said I was going to do. I know that it isn't much, because of what I said to you. However, I've come to realize that I need some help, and I'm going to try to get it," he said. As he's realized that while most people tend to get sad when they lose someone they love while they mourn, all he wanted to do was to hurt and kill. He didn't need help to stop killing. That was not it. He needed to learn how to balance emotions. He spent his whole life trying to avoid them, so Now it was something that he couldn't control. However, there was people at the village that he could receive help from. He's been putting that off, thinking that he was alright. However, the thoughts that were building in his mind, when the thought of losing someone close to him came up, were so dark that he didn't even want to think about them. And while he does do whatever it takes to protect his loved ones, the path that his emotional state would bring him down into was not one that would be good for anyone or anything around. So, he would try to find a way to prevent all of that by seeking some help. "It's alright," Shizune said. Naruto looked up at her confused. "Why?" "After what I said." "Oh, trust me," she said to him. "You're not the first emotionally unstable person I had to deal with. In certain states, people tend to say things that they don't truly mean. Well, you don't have to worry because I won't threaten to ever end your life ever again." "Well, that's good," she said to him. "Well, you will have no need to do it, or to even say it, because I'll help your friend," said Tsunade. As Naruto turned towards her, "I am sorry for the ones that you lost," he said. "And I understand," he said to her. "From this experience, I can understand. I don't blame you for running away. I don't blame you for not wanting to return to the village. Because I haven't even lost. And yet I say and do things that you didn't even do, but instead you just ran away. So I don't blame you for anything that you've done. Leaving was probably good for you, although it seemed problematic over the past few years. It has given you time to do what you needed. But if you're going to come home now, you don't have to be alone." His words were getting her rather emotional as she turned her gaze away slightly. "How have you changed so much since I met you?" she said. "I guess I adapt really fastly in certain subjects. So, I don't think it would be hard to learn how to properly console my emotions in the right way," he said to her. "I guess it won't. And if you can do it, I suppose I could do the same," she said. A smile appeared on Jiraiya's face as he heard that. As he blinked, "Wait, does that mean you'll take the position?" She sighed. "I suppose the village does need me." "It does, doesn't it?" she said to him. "You're the only one that can save it now," he said. "After all, there are some people out there that we can't allow to become the Hokage. Ever." She knew who he was talking about. "Fine, I'll take the position. I can even build my medical program like I wanted to do. After all, now that I'll be the Hokage, no one can tell me shit," she said. "How could they?" said Naruto. "You have absolute power. You're the leader." You're right about that." Jiraiya had a real bad feeling watching these two, as both of them were pretty messed up in ways that would be problematic if they run the village in certain ways. Given Naruto's strange, extreme training, and Tsunade, well, seeming to like the boy, it would be a bad idea for the both of them to put their mind together. For the ninjas of Konoha, that is. It was a good thing that he wasn't your average ninja. But guys, be and subscribe right here. For what's the next part to do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notifications they posted. But I'm off for now. See you guys soon. Peace.